Good Knob and Liebchens. This is Reichsmarschall Salem Suicide, and we find ourselves here in exciting downtown Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. You'll forgive me if my speech tonight, my little video for you, is somewhat rambling. After performing here in Canada, I've never been without a round of congratulatory beers, and I think I've had a few too many tonight. If I can take a moment of your time to discuss the song choices that we make as performers, and in a broader context, the reason why we perform in the first place. All drag queens are there to entertain. And if we're not entertaining the audience, really, why are we up there? Now, not to despair, my friends, because there are as many ways to entertain as there are people. And we can learn many lessons from the likes of burlesque performers and stage musicians, and even the frontmen of rock and roll bands. In fact, I've learned an awful lot from the frontmen of rock and roll bands, people like Bruce Dickinson of Iron Maiden and Rob Halford of Judas Priest, to name but two of them. I think I would be remiss if I didn't mention Angela Gossow of Sweden's arch enemy as well. All of these performers have a very dramatic, very histrionic way of presenting themselves and their bands to the audience. And they have it firmly in mind that if the audience isn't entertained, then why are they at the show in the first place? And I think plenty of drag queens could also keep this in mind. We need to choose our songs with the purpose in mind of entertaining the audience, and this means that we can't simply perform to the songs that we like, but we must perform to the songs that are going to entertain the audience the most and the best. I know that I had traditionally performed to whatever song moved me at the time, but after I discovered a set of AC/DC covers performed by a girl band called Thunderstruck, the reaction that I was getting from the audience was much more positive. And I'm almost embarrassed to admit that I sort of became addicted to that response. And I discovered that if I was going to get that response from the audience, I had to look for songs that the audience was somewhat familiar with. Even remotely, it had to be a song that they knew. And given my personal taste, that narrowed things down considerably to more hard-edged, more hard rock and roll, heavy metal sort of songs that the audience was going to be familiar with. Diligence pays off, and it hasn't been too terribly difficult to find these songs, but nevertheless, this is the direction that my search has gone in. With that in mind, one of the lessons that I learned from Bruce Dickinson is you look for the fellow right at the back of the club, and you, whatever way is most effective for you, you sort of say to him, you, yeah, you. You know, of course, he'll go, me? Who, me? And by making that connection, on a good night when it works, you can shrink the whole club down to the size of your thumb. It creates an intimacy and a rapport between the performer and the audience that's vital towards having the audience have a good time. When the audience has a good time, you have a good time. The audience is willing to tip more, for one thing, and it creates a uniformly positive experience. So we must all look to the songs which may not necessarily be our favorites, but which we know are going to entertain the audience, and we must expend a certain amount of effort in making that connection with the audience, making that intimacy. Drag queens are entertainers. Now, for whatever reason we're doing drag, and for whatever reason someone is at a drag show, their ultimate purpose is to be entertained. If we're entertaining, then we're doing what we're supposed to do. So with those thoughts in mind, I wish you all good luck in your future performances. And this is Reichsmarschall Salem Suicide signing off for the night.